A quick look at the bills passed by the Idaho legislature in recent years. It'd be fair to say the top priority for them is governing social issues, namely gender definitions, gender identity, and what gender needs to use what restroom at what school. Outsider may assume Idaho has a lot of problems with pronouns derailing school days and field trips. Although we haven't heard anything about actual issues, it is still something Idaho lawmakers wanted to solidify in state law. Something that becomes solidified, they say, when you're born into this world, according to Republican lawmakers. Well, now it's state law. Idaho isn't alone in this political move. Several other Republican states have passed similar legislation on the gender identity front. So now the Biden administration is kind of pushing back on that, and they've recrafted portions of Title IX, just published and set to go into effect in August. Part of that includes redefining the word sex under Title IX to include gender identity. Idaho's AG argues the new rules unlawfully rewrite Title IX to undermine its very purpose. Here's Joe Paris.
Idaho's continued paperwork battle with the federal government continues on a new front, Title IX. Idaho joined other Republican-led states, filing a lawsuit against the United States Department of Education over a new rule that is set to expand the definition of discrimination under Title IX. The rule, which is set to go into effect in August, prohibits discrimination based on gender identity, something Idaho lawmakers debated at length in 2024.
So the Biden administration decided to change Title IX.
Idaho Attorney General Raul Labrador believes that the Biden administration is far beyond their purview.
It should be the legislature that changes the laws of the United States. And if this is a change that they want for the people of the United States, they should introduce a bill, let the legislature or the Congress actually make those changes. But they're not willing to do that because they know that the American public is not with them on this issue, and they know that they're not going to be able to pass it through the legislative body.
Idaho argues in this federal filing that the rule is unlawful and goes far beyond the Department of Education's authority. Idaho and partner states say that the rule redefines the term sex in a way that is contrary to the text of Title IX and the intent of Congress.
This is once again an example of the Biden administration being frustrated because they cannot pass a legislation, they cannot pass a law that changes the law in a way that they find favorable, and they go through regulation and they change years and years and upend years and years of law by just passing a simple rule. And that's not the way our government was created.
Idaho's State Department of Education weighed in on the challenge. Superintendent of Public Instruction Debbie Critchfield says in a statement that Idaho education agencies have concerns. She says in part, quote, "I fully support the state's legal action against the federal government. The current administration's tactic of inserting itself into the business of states, and in this instance, locally elected school board members, has grown tiresome. These sorts of actions waste valuable time and resources and take away from our focus on educating kids." Idaho's so-called bathroom law is in direct conflict with the federal rule. Idaho law requires public schools to only allow students to use bathrooms and changing facilities that correspond to their biological sex.
My job's always to defend the law, and I always find it funny when people say, why are you filing all these different lawsuits? Well, our legislature passed the laws. My job is to protect and to defend those laws, and that's why I got elected, and I think I will continue to do that.
Idaho also has a law set to go into effect on July 1st. It prevents public employees, like public school teachers, from being required to address someone using their preferred pronoun. It was actually House Bill 538 this past session. The legislation also bans teachers from using names or pronouns for students that don't align with the name or gender the student was assigned at birth, unless that teacher has parental consent to do so.
We're going through litigation on many of these cases, but we think eventually we're going to win on this issue, and I think we're going to win on the issue where Title IX should not be including gender identity in any way.
So I know that at home you're probably not keeping notes of where is every single Idaho law and which ones are wrapped up in the court system. So I will give you an update. Idaho's so-called bathroom law is enjoined right now in a federal suit. We are expecting to hear some more action on that in the coming weeks, so we will keep you updated on that one. But Brian, this is a national issue, and it is interesting too because the conversation, of course, in terms of the politics and the political beliefs is one thing, but you're now having the question across several Republican-led states in terms of process. Is the Biden administration going too far, promulgating rules that are effective as law?
Here's what I found interesting about Critchfield's statement about how going against locally elected school boards, and this is, getting into what they are deciding. The state has already done that because local school boards tried to set up their own policies, Policy 3281, when it comes to who can use what bathroom and what's allowed and pronouns and all that kind of stuff. And the state said, whoa, 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 we'll take care of that. So they took local control away.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting conversation. I also know that there are some lawmakers that don't think it's the end of the conversation, and there are some lawmakers that want to make the bill more specific. I've heard from some Republican lawmakers that they like Idaho's bathroom law, but they were hearing, according to their sources, that there were other questions about it. So we'll see if this comes back next January.
I know that wasn't a question. I just find it curious, and I would like to see how the AG would like to say, well, yeah, I can see what you're saying there.
Yeah,
But, all right.
we'll ask them. Yeah.
Thanks, Joe.